And he was delayed because he was doing something very meaningful. That 12-year-old kid that unfortunately passed by, that's what he was taking care of. So let me first of all welcome Police Officer Derrick Sharbodie. How are you, my friend?
I'm in the presence of what we call it, well, they say not a bishop, an elder.
Yeah, a bishop and an elder. Yeah, you look older than I do.
Morning, elder.
Good morning to you, my brother. Thank you so much, and I understand that this match is a very important one. We asked you this morning to be here, and I'm glad that you took the time to be with us because there are a lot of issues that's confronting the nation. Primary among all of that is crime. Yes. The issue of crime. The issue of crime and where we start. I had a conversation earlier this morning with a colleague. We were talking about how we get a community to have confidence in the police service. And that is the sort of thing that leans itself all the way back to the young ones looking on and saying, I'm not going to do this snitching thing. Just so that folks understand what we're talking about. 2008. That is the record year for murders in this country. We had 550 murders. That's a record. In 2013, we had 405. Thus far this year, we are looking at, 321 about. We still have
322.
We still have 90 days to go. Yes. And in a population of approximately 1.3 to 1.4 million people, you're looking at a murder rate that says you are 31 murders per 100,000 inhabitants. That is a very frightening place to be. However, we keep hearing also that crime rate is down. Other crimes are down. Well, all information tells us that about 67% of crimes are not reported. They're not reported, one, because folks feel that it's not major enough. Two, because they don't have confidence in the police. Or a number of folks say, I'm not going to snitch. You deal with young people all the time. That is one of the reasons that we want to have this conversation here. You are the founder and manager of the St. James Police Youth Club, and you're also the project coordinator for the Youth Empowerment Center. Let's talk about this. What is this thing with snitching? How do we get our kids? First of all, tell me, why is it they feel it is wrong to snitch? Let's just clear that. It may seem obvious, but go ahead into that.
Yeah, when you look at how the question of snitching has been packaged in terms of music by rap singers, when you look at the information coming to the fore in terms of even within your own home. You know, you are 5-year-old or 7-year-old, and you go and you report on your big brother. Your big brother says, you're a snitch, man. So that culture starts even very early within the home. And then you see how it blossoms out, unfortunately, and it is marketed within the media and by extension, some of the movies, right? A snitch, it has become a quite popular word among the youth. And as you examine, even within the school environment, that they have their own code of conduct in terms of how do we deal with snitch and how do we deal with young people who probably go against the rules of the school, that you need to show brotherhood, you need to show some level of partnership. And if you start very early in the minds of the youth, educating and keeping young people informed that a snitch is nothing like a rat, as the worst case scenario will put it. You don't want to be a rat.
In the mob, yes. Well, you know, I to make sure I understand clearly how the definition is interpreted, I went to what they call the Urban Dictionary, just to understand what is snitching. And they say when somebody runs to the police or somebody of authority to turn in somebody over something minor and that can be fixed easily is their definition. They also go on to say you are not snitching if you're turning in somebody for something serious. Is there that differentiation between young people, or is it just a case of snitching, period, whether it is serious or not serious?
That's right. It's a case of snitching, period. It's across the board. You should not. Insignificant things, you see insignificant things. In fact, almost 70% of the confrontation that takes place in school is as regards of somebody snitching on somebody, right? And they have to make you an example. Right. If you look at most of the secondary and junior secondary schools, in fact, I can use my club as an example. Right. Most of the young people and young men in particular that come to me, they will say, "Sir, so-and-so did so-and-so, but please, don't call my name." And you need to hold that person highly. You need to ensure that you respect the person's wishes, and by extension, the person should feel safe.
You said even in your club.
Even in my club, that's
right. And you represent the police service. So here's my question. Why is it a kid would come to you and say, so-and-so happened, but Don't say I say, because he's afraid of retribution.
That's right.
I think Selwyn Ryan in the United Nations Development Program report back in 2012 said that it's easy to ask kids not to snitch, but we know that the penalty on the street for snitching sometimes very often is death.
That's right.
So, you're going a long way. So how do you change a young man then, understanding that reality, to feel it is comfortable to come to you, one, or two, how do you reinvent or redefine snitching?
First, you must guarantee that their safety. Their safety is important to them. They need to know that they're safe. After I would have passed on this information, after I would have divulged or shared this information with you, I need to know I'm safe. If you cannot guarantee their safety, they're not going to come to you. And they would have been observing you over a period of time how you handle other matters. That, sir, I am safe with sir if I share this. If I am not safe, I would not share it. I'll write a note. I would leave some level of a different form of passing on the information so that, sir, at least you would have no knowledge that I am part and parcel of passing that information on. I think what is also important to understand is that you have to re-educate the young people in terms of the value of sharing information.
Yes.
Right? And young people themselves have to do that. I cannot do that. So I have to recruit young people under my charge who have been what you call my soldiers, foot soldiers, who I can confide in, who have shared the philosophy of the club, to go out and share with other young people the importance of snitching and the pros and cons to it.
The manager and founder of St. James Police Youth Club is who you're listening to. He is Police Officer Derrick Sharbodie. We're spending some time this morning dealing with snitching, and we will extend that to other areas, but we're staying with the kids right now. Please go ahead.
It is also significant that when you're looking at young people, you have to lead by example. So they're looking at other cases you have handled. If you they don't find that, look how Mr. Sharbodie handled this case, I'm not very impressed. And then they would know then if I would be able to share or confide in sir in other areas that I feel he's obligated to know. Young people are not stupid. They're talented. They're wise, and they have a lot of street sense, as you would call it.
A lot of folks want to say, for instance, that part of the reason they do this, a major part of the reason they do this, as against it just being retribution, is because of a false sense of loyalty. I get the feeling that the retribution is a much bigger contributor to the fear of snitching than it is that so-called companion, that group they belong to. Is that incorrect?
It's twofold.
It's twofold.
You have to show loyalty by snitching. It is one of the characteristics that you look for. You don't snitch. Once you show that you're going out of the box and you're going to share, then okay, that's not loyalty. So it's twofold. The question of as having that sense of belonging is also significant in terms of what we see outside with the gangs and how the group operate. It's tough talk. It's tough talk. They tell you early, we don't know snitchers within this group. And they give you examples of what they would have done to those who would have snitched before. Graphic examples. And so in your mind, you don't want to end up like that.
Speak to me of the age group you're talking about, just that we get a sense of how early this anti-snitching thing is, even though, as you said accurately, it can start from the home because snitching at a different level.
Yes.
But I'm speaking in the level of the crime element, because at home it is not necessarily the crime element. Is it this one, tell on this one, that sort of thing.
Yes.
But when it get into the crime arena, what age group are we talking about?
We are looking from 11 years go up.
From 11.
I have cases where young men who are 11 years have been positioned, watching blocks, monitoring, selling drinks, but their role there is to monitor and pass on information. They would have left school, they would have not done well in their primary school, and they're now living on the blocks, and they have been given the responsibility in terms of being involved in a gang. But they have to, what you call, upgrade. They have to raise the bar. And one way of doing that is that they give them certain instructions to follow.
You pay your dues.
That's right. And once you pass that, you see, the police service recruiting, the army recruiting, the whole concept of recruiting. The gangs are recruiting also. I have a young man who, his mother came in frantic. She said, Mr. Sharbodie, my son is on the Facebook, and he's recently indicated that he wishes to be friends with a particular gang group. So when I put up the Facebook, I saw him. I said, do you know exactly what you're doing, son? And he's saying, he was forced. he was intimidated or else, right? I have him doing certain things in primary school. I had to draw that to the principal, but the young man had to be safe as well. I couldn't call the young man name, and the principal now had to bring certain CID officers from a particular area to do some work to find out who are the other fifth standard students. I'm talking about primary school who are involved in recruiting and getting young people involved in this particular gang. A whole recruitment system being set up at the primary school level.
For a number of reasons. I mean, you identified a couple of them. In some cases, it's easy cash. There's a need to belong. There is no better outlook. And there's also the bad boy culture.
Image, that's right.
Right, the bad boy image. So it's very difficult for you to do that. Your interaction is what you're doing. Is there any measurable way to start getting a feeling that the young foot soldiers you are using are in fact making an impact into these lives? So is it that the wider community have to get involved in other initiatives to make your endeavor easier, is my question.
Oh yes, it has to be a collective effort. You have to bring players involved who know and who can handle the stories, that we would call it. Young people would say, no, you cannot bring young people who are naive. And even parents, sometimes you bring parents on board and you bring other stakeholders involved and they have no help. So you have to be very, very careful. You have to be very circumspect in terms of how you deal with transforming youth, making sure that 360-degree angle is given time and patience and working with them individually, because you're seeing the change, you're seeing the turnaround, but it's not as fast as you would like. And therefore, it requires a level of tolerance and patience, working with them and saying, listen, I'm seeing good signs, you're doing very well. Sometimes, you have to go and pick them up sometimes.
This is a validation, a reinforcement that you need all the time. The last time you were here, you said that there are many stakeholders involved in this, and you wanted to single them out and compliment them. I agree with you. Many of them may be listening this morning and would like to know how you go about redefining this for a young person. You say, well, to make him understand that he is a stakeholder at that age and should go this way, the so-called quote-unquote right way, straight way, as against going with a gang. I mean, how do you do that, particularly if you're looking at a number of circumstances that may be working against you here, which has to do with poverty status, the socioeconomic issues, dealing with the feel of neglect, the lack of respect, the lack of feeling that not knowing he's a stakeholder, additionally feeling that if I decided to try this stakeholder thing and go to the authorities, I don't have any protection. How do you go about changing that?
Well, I did an assessment on with 40 young men. We have a meal support group every Friday, and I invite you.
Yes. Okay.
And one of the enlisting, we ask them what is the most important thing that they look forward to. We ask about a father figure, we ask about a mentor, and they say an example. They would look forward to people being an example. Yes. They say there's a lot of talk going on, sir. There's a lot of theory going on. There's a books being pushed in front of our face. There's a lot of fingers being pointed, who's wrong, who's right. But we have very few examples. And if we get more examples, people being more exemplary, then we'll be able to fashion ourselves. Because you see, you talk the talk, but you don't walk the walk. And action speaks louder than words. And young people look more for your actions, right? They assess you. They're the greatest psychologists, I call them. Sometimes when you're not watching, they're watching you.
Always watching, yes.
Right? And young people need to be given an opportunity, a space where they can speak to some of the issues that we're speaking about right now. And we need to get a forum where we do not invite any type of, well, you're talking rubbish. I don't agree with that. You can give them a difference of opinion. You can say, this is my view. But when you start letting them know that your opinion has no value, then they say, okay, I don't really have a space here again. So how do you craft your words, your language? How do you speak? By encouraging them, it is paramount. And as we go back to these stakeholders, Citizen Security is doing an excellent job with us. We have set up a beauty culture and barbering system within the club. And we believe that while the young men are doing barbering, there's a little bit of chatting going on right here.
Yes, a whole lot of conversation going on.
Right, and we're learning, we're making notes, and that type of informal setting really allows young people to speak and to participate.
And belonging to something more, something different.
That's right.
Something wider.
Yes. Same thing for the females as well. We can't divorce the fact that girls are having their issues too, because girls, you see female fight. When you are a female snitch, you get it good. right? And in fact, females need to show more loyalty. It is a requirement that you show more loyalty to probably your partner who may be involved in crime. So we also have to address both gender as well, right? And impress upon them that you're not called for that particular part of lifestyle. There's a greater calling for you. And that greater calling, you need to point out to them the different avenues that they have so that they can move away eventually, bit by bit, from that life that puts them at risk.
You talk about examples. The voice you're hearing is, listeners, in case you just joined us inside Brunch, is that of Police Officer Derrick Sharbodie, who is the community police officer, manager, and founder of the St. James Police Youth Club. They're doing some great work there. I know that there's another group that set up the Crime Stoppers for the purpose of reporting things. In the area of snitching, which is where the focus is, in that area of safety, I think a lot of folks will feel better because they prefer to have a position where they don't feel their identity is revealed. Do you set up something in the middle there? Is that necessary to set up something in the middle that they can report to without having their names and so on revealed, and then have that passed on to the police service? And here's the reason I'm saying this, because a lot of them state, it has been stated repeatedly, that the minute you've made a report to the police and you walk out the station, the person you're reporting on already know who you are. Or they are picked up, they are held, and they are released on the street very soon after that, and you are known, and that is a disincentive to want to cooperate. Is there such a mechanism we need to put in place where there is an intermediate point where folks go to drop the information and then the information, and where they feel secured in their anonymity there?
Well, as we speak, there's 555 that we can call anonymous. You don't have to leave your name. You don't have to just tell them that, listen, I have, in fact, the incident with the woman being found.
Yes, in Aruca.
It's because of an anonymous phone call. Okay. The person didn't give the name, they didn't give, they just said, listen, I'm hearing some scream, so and so, and we need to applaud that type of community policing, because the people need to police their own community, and that need to be in the forefront. You know, this is somebody who called, they heard something, the police officers was alerted, and look at that, you had a case of women being held against a ransom. Right? You also have Crime Stoppers, as you indicated, and you have 999. There are policies that if when you call, you don't have to leave your name.
Give me that first number again for those who are hearing it for the first time. 555. 555. They can call 555, and without giving any information, just say what they hear, what they see.
That's right. You also have Crime Stoppers, as you indicated. And then we also appeal. I don't know if you heard that the commissioner and the senior superintendent of the division, they appeal to people, if you feel unsafe going to the station.
Yes.
And you are provoked to speak to an officer, you know, that's an excellent avenue. So I'm going to use myself as an example again. Yes. You'll find members of the public come and say, Mr. Sharbodie, I know about A, B, and C. I really don't want to go to the station. Can I speak to you, please? And then we come down at the youth club center. I will call an officer who I have confidence in from the CID. I say, listen, I have this information. The person wishes not to leave, and the officer respects that. And based on the intelligence or the information I give them, they work on that. So you need to be tactful. You need to be maneuver. You have to look at other factors in order to really fight crime. And I know that when the public goes out there and say that there needs to be a greater confidence with the police, the commissioner is on the record saying that we need to have a greater relationship with the public, and we are working on it. But until such time, what do we do? You know, this is 1.3. You must know an officer in Trinidad and Tobago that you have confidence in. There must be some officer that you're familiar with that you can call, or somebody who knows an officer. You see, the objective is getting the information to the police so that they can form an arrest or they can address the matter of an offense being committed.
We have not moved far away from the area of youth and snitching. We're staying in that area, but I just want to follow through as the conversation evolves, which is the question of an adult, for instance. You make a report to the police want to go through with their case. There's one reporting anonymously, have to worry about being in touch, being in touch by the police and saying that, you know, we need your evidence, we need your information, your observation for a case and so on, because then you go into an area of witness protection, which a lot of folks don't have confidence in also. Yes. So that too is a disincentive. I mean, the Chatham family example is something that's frightening to anybody who would like to cooperate in one way or the other.
Well, I know that the recent installed Prime Minister talk about whistleblowing
Yes.
and legislation, and they're looking into bringing some type of draft legal document this year, well, and then they go to the public, that kind of stuff. Until such time, I agree with you. You have to look at how do we get people to move from a question of unsafe for feeling safe. Now, there are some cases that you may not require to give what you call, you don't have to be there in public.
You can do it secretly, yes.
That's right. But there are some based on the offenses, the nature of the offense. Unfortunately, you require someone to say, yes, I was there, I saw. Now, I think that this is where the legislators come in, where they can either videotape. They can bring videotaping into the question of as a legal part of an instrument that somebody, so the person don't have to be there. You can introduce a video, audio, and let's see how well that works out.
The Chief Justice suggested that, and that is one good thing. It still begs the question of who is the collector of all this data and all this information and how safe it is. That I know is above our area of conversation. But next week is something I'm going to raise with David West. Mr. David West will be joining us. He's from the PCA, and we will go into that area. So let's go back, if I have you okay to do it, back with the kids. So you get the kids in. You get some of your foot soldiers. You tell them, listen, we've got to get these other folks to understand snitching is not a crime as they see it, and they are saying that you're not doing the streets. So your folks are going out there and talking to them. Is it not equally an area of that begs attention, that you have to go to what I asked you a while ago, which is what bring the kids into the gangs in the first place, which means you have to change some of the social conditions.
That's right.
So you were working with the kids at the St. James Center. Who's working in the community itself is my question.
Well, as we speak, we network with everybody.
Oh, you do? Okay.
We network. In order to really reach community, you have to reach the community leaders, the constructive community leaders. Skit is an excellent example of reaching young people. A skit on snitching. Sometimes you talk, sometimes you pass on paraphernalias and handouts, but you have to be very innovative and crafty in terms of how you send your information across to young people. And I think that one of the excellent results that we have is through song. We have young people who can rap. So I say, okay, give me a song that singles or addresses the question of anti-bullying or snitching. And they rap out a nice verse. That's very good. And you encourage that at a basketball court. You invite people to come on and you showcase the Police Club doing a skit, drama, poetry, just addressing one particular antisocial. And you invite other people who are inclined right here to make a statement on what they think about anti-bullying or snitching is. You see, there must be a forum. If you don't have a forum, where do they go? They go back on the block and they get misinformed, contaminated, and then all this toxic, unfortunately,
information. Yes,
that's right. So there has to be a forum. The community centers, we appeal to community, those who are involved at the community center level, to open up your community centers. Let's have a chat. Let's invite young people. Yes. Make sure that it's well marketed, it's well promoted, and in addition to, the media must also play a fundamental role. Where are the public service announcements? We are seeing a few, and I tip my cap to that in terms of abuse and that kind of stuff. Okay, let's do one on snitching. So that in the minds of young people, let them know that, listen, it is okay to pass information on. You'll be saving lives. There are people, you'll be saving them from themselves. Let us come up with an arrangement with the media, youth, and by extension the community, where we can have this planned and deliberate drive to educate and keep young people informed, keeping it in front of their eye 24 about these unfortunate antisocial ills, and they're being a part of the solution. Too many young people feel they're part of the problem.
Yes.
And they're not part of the solution.
Or they cannot impact the solution, is what they
Well
feel.
said.
The voice you're hearing is that of Police Officer Derrick Sharbodie. Good to give us of his time this morning. We're talking about snitching, among other things. We're talking about young people. You told me about some 11-year-olds, which prompts the question, while you're working with other community leaders and so on, what's happening in the schools as far as bringing this message to the kids? What kind of participation is going on with that, and do you see it as a desirable add-in that would assist?
Let me go on the record and be very frank.
Yes, please.
Some principals embrace you. They say, we would love to have a lecture on that.
Mm-hmm.
Come on board, Yes, officer. And there are some principals, we don't need that here. They're very, they feel that bringing that topic up is too early in the development when somebody else is already educating young people.
Precisely.
So the principals and the caregivers also need to be educated that somebody else is educating their children.
That's right.
Outside.
Mm-hmm.
So we appeal to principal that the police officer is not here to arrest and lock up and charge and put before the court. But you invite me to a school, I am going to make myself more meaningful, in terms of addressing some of the issues. And teachers will call you aside and say, officer, I would like you to address so and so.
But is there not a coordinator somewhere in the ministry that can put these, put these before the principals and say, listen, this is the state of what we're looking at. Here's an organization doing so and so. Because if you have willy-nilly a principal who decides, I don't want to have it, he is putting at risk all these children. It's not just so much his view, is it now?
Well, most of the times you get a directive from the DSS. But
okay.
when it goes down to the principal, the principal sometimes are very crafty in saying, we don't have the time. We have a curriculum, we have a deadline. Right now we have SCA coming up. They make a case.
It would be useful in some form or the other, in a nice form for us to get the information on all these principals who don't see it as necessary.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, because, this is crazy. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with our guest, Police Officer Derrick Sharbodie. We're talking about snitching here this morning. Be back on 107.7. We're having brunch.